If you thought that the Oslo Accords was bad, take a look at the 21-point peace plan, which is being described as a congratulatory note between Trump and Netanyahu, written to give the occupation on paper what it failed to win after 2 years of war. The revisions openly legitimize Netanyahu's core positions, rejecting a Palestinian state outright and reducing it to a mere aspiration, while permitting annexation of the West Bank. But yet we have Trump saying, oh no, absolutely not. He is not going to annex the West Bank, he being Netanyahu. I think by now we know that Trump's words mean absolutely zilch. Trump himself said he now accepts Netanyahu's rejection of a Palestinian state, showing the draft was tailored to accommodate Israel's stubbornness and defiance of international law, and repackage, yes, that's that nice word to describe what the peace plan actually is, repackage it as international consensus. Criminalizing resistance. The text begins with the demand that Gaza be free of terror. Well, if Gaza wishes to be free of terror, Israel should withdraw from the occupied territory. Wouldn't you agree? Al-Hindi said this means nothing less than free of resistance. Yeah, right. And Gaza stripped of arms necessary for liberation. He stressed that this wording locks in Israel's version of events. From the very first line, it reinforces Israel's claim that the problem is a security problem, that on October 7, T-words attacked I-State. It erases that this is an occupation, decades of aggression, war crimes, and ethnic cleansing. Yep. By framing the resistance as, he argued, the draft makes any Palestinian faction a criminal entity and rewrites the entire conflict. It is not a question of occupation and national liberation anymore, but of T-wordists who must be disarmed and expelled. Number 3, trusteeship and US Israeli control. Dr. Mohammed Al-Hindi, deputy head of Islamic on Trump's Gaza plan. So Al-Hindi warned the plan imposes a system of foreign control that strips Palestinians of sovereignty. It hands sovereignty to a board of peace, or as I like to call it, the board of peace. Get it? B-O-R-E-D, because Netanyahu and Trump, United States, Israel, are bored of peace, or maybe you might say bored with peace. It's funny, right? I mean, nothing is funny in this context, but I think the point that I wanted to make earlier is that it's something I've repeated on this channel a lot, which is this is what the United States and Israel always does. And a quick glance at the history, especially in the 90s, it becomes abundantly clear that this is just a repackaging of what I would call the Oslo Accords. It's far worse. I mean, these Palestinian people, they are not bargaining with any chips. It seems like this materially, logically bears out that the peace plan would reflect that lack of material power on part by the Palestinians. They have no power. So their oppressors, their villainous oppressors, are drafting up terms and conditions. And remember, I just want to also frame this by us recognizing first and foremost that what the United States and Israel are doing, which is that they're brokering a deal that completely excludes any Palestinian demands or any recognition of any Palestinian rights, is the task formally of the UN. The UN should be doing this. That's why we have international diplomacy, and we have institutions that are devoted to administering international diplomacy, resolving conflicts between countries, preventing crimes against humanity. We've had this whole apparatus post-World War II, and even before then they had the League of Nations. I mean, I know that these are corrupt institutions, obviously, and they're feckless and toothless, but in an ideal world, they would be administering these documents and making sure that all parties are copacetic. But in this weird unipolar hegemonic world that we live in, where you have one rogue country that is the world preeminent superpower, everything is back channeled via the United States. Why are they meddle, we intervene in everything. Why is it left up to the United States to back channel and be a dishonest broker in this deal? All right, now that I've sufficiently framed it in our minds, let's continue on. So the Board of Peace, led by Trump and Tony Blair, and many people are rightfully outraged by the tapping of Tony Blair to head this board of peace, which is supposedly, it's almost like how we could draw an analogy between the GHF administering food. They're sort of like co-opting what UNRWA was tasked with and what was doing effectively. Now we have the board of peace, which is, doing what the UN should be doing or should be left to the Palestinians to do, which is administer their sovereign territory, their sovereign country, and be able to rebuild. But no, that's left up to Western bankers, the finance capital class of Western Europe and the United States, who are effectively giving security to Israel and municipal services to unelected technocrats. So it's just going to be a theme park for Silicon Valley now. And, let's not forget that Tony Blair is guilty of 1 million Iraqis in George W. Bush's war on terror. And somebody brought this up, I forget who, but Trump at that time condemned Tony Blair in 2003 during Operation Iraqi Freedom. Maybe it wasn't 2003, but it was the wake of, because of those war crimes committed by George W. Bush and Tony Blair, that Trump, is condemning Tony Blair. And then 20 some odd years later, he's handpicking him for another war crime. Under this arrangement, all political security and economic decisions would fall under international trusteeship, an American mandate in Israel's favor. Quote, it cancels any national political process, even with the Palestinian Authority, which would be forced into reforms based on American and Israeli standards. Al-Hindi's on terms of the deal, he said the factions have no objection to a comprehensive deal where all prisoners are released in exchange for 1. A real and permanent halt to aggression. 2. Full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. 3. Relief and reconstruction for the Palestinian people. He said, we seek amendments that guarantee withdrawal, the halt to aggression, and safeguards against displacement. We want a written guarantee that the war will stop. And we want to guarantee against expelling our people outside Gaza. Number 5, the 72-hour demand is impossible. The draft requires all captives be released within 72 hours. Even if they were in one house, it could not be done in 72 hours. With the destruction, bombardment, and graves of Gaza, everyone knows that this is impossible. 6, the withdrawal must be scheduled. The only scheduled item in the plan is the release of Israeli prisoners. Israeli withdrawal is left vague and tied to disarmament. We demand it be phased and explicitly linked to prisoner releases. Yes, get the out of our land. We'll give you back your so-called sausages when you vacate our lands. 7, guarantees to stop the war. Al-Hindi insisted that without guarantees, Israel will resume under any pretext. Of course they will. We want a written guarantee of a true end to aggression, not 2 days for prisoner handover. Then Israel resumes its massacres as it has in Lebanon and Syria. Surrendering arms is a trap. When Palestinians surrendered their weapons in Lebanon, the massacres of Sabra and Shatila followed. Those are 2 famous massacres committed by the IDF. I want to say it was either in the 60s or the 80s. It might have been the 1982 war against Lebanon war. Number 9, Trump's threats do not intimidate. Trump threatened to give Israel a green light to finish the job militarily if factions refused within 72 hours. Al-Hindi replied, tons of American bombs have already fallen on our people from American planes with American intelligence. This threat does not frighten us. Yeah. Remember when Trump, like months ago, was like, if they don't stop, if we don't get a deal, all hell is going to break loose. He literally said, all hell is going to break loose. And we know that it's already hell on earth for Gaza. What are you going to do? Number 10, starvation and massacres. He acknowledged that the Israeli siege engineered starvation and daily civilian massacres as the real pressure facing the resistance. Yeah, that's right. Most people that have died in the Gaza Strip have died as a result of starvation and disease. Our hearts bleed for our people, but does this plan stop the aggression? That is the key. 11. The national project cannot be surrendered. Al-Hindi said the plan attempts to liquidate the Palestinian National Project and replace it with foreign trusteeship under Trump, Blair, and Israel. These questions, Gaza, the West Bank, the future of Palestine, belong to all Palestinians. No faction can surrender them. Number 12, closing message. We will not be deceived by illusions and false promises. We will not allow the issue to be reframed as Palestinian. The real issue is occupation, U.S. Israeli hegemony, and Here's the TLDR in case you're just joining us and you want to hit that notice button because it's free and you'll be doing God a favor. Al-Hindi divided the issues raised by the deal into two distinct buckets: resistance issues and national issues. Resistance issues include the exchange of captives, a ceasefire, and Israeli withdrawal. All require clear schedules and guarantees, and seek clarification on clause about demands to decommission arms, since these are the arms of the Palestinian people in a liberation struggle. National issues regard broader questions: the day after, governance of Gaza, the West Bank, and the future of the Palestinian cause cannot be decided by one faction. He warned the current Trump plan reduces Palestinian sovereignty to a trusteeship, giving Israel security control, the U.S. hegemony, and technocrats municipal authority, an arrangement he called an American mandate in Israel's favor. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe to the page to help it grow. And if you'd like to support my work, join my Patreon for exclusive content.